Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully you've all had a triumphant Tuesday so far. Is Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market about to be in for a good day today? Potentially, if other markets are anything to go by. The dollar is looking rather weak this morning. The FTSE is up, the Asian market is somewhat mixed, some of it up, some of it down, and the US futures market is up. So potentially there is going to be a green day. It's already started off green for the cryptocurrency market. I think with Ethereum's merge coming up, people may bid it up. We're going to talk about it. We're going to be looking at the fact that we're kind of on this 20k range. Now that there's a degree of respect you've got to give to this level at the end of the day. It was the prior high in 2017. We also actually on the way up. It acted as significant resistance that we then broke through. It is now acting as support, and I think this is going to be a level that gets a bid. It already has. We have seen some strength come in. It's not been spectacular, and we need to see that strength continue. Maybe we give, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've been rather bearish, and I am pretty bearish over the short term. But maybe we give a bit of a bullish outlook or bullish potential, what we'd want to see to be bullish for the cryptocurrency space in this video. So certainly stick around for that. We will go into a bit of the news, and the news is kind of somewhat important, not because it's the news, but because, you know, we know the reason that we have this bearish outlook for the cryptocurrency market is very simple. It's simply to do with the fact that we think that the macroeconomic outlook is a bleak one. I was speaking, very funny conversation with somebody who owns a fish and chip shop. Now, it's a very profitable and has been a very profitable fish and chip shop for many, many years. And he was essentially saying, look, you know, even I'm struggling, and we may actually get to the point where we just decide not to open the doors because of the bills that we have to pay at the back end, making it not that profitable to do so. He was kind of saying, look, I'd be better off going and getting a normal 9 to 5. I'd have a lot less stress. And that's the kind of pressure that an increase in energy bills and certainly what's coming in October are going to put on him. Now, that's just one person I've spoke to. I spoke to many who are in similar boats. I speak to everyday people. You know, times are getting really, really tough. And the thing for me, we looked at the German saving ratio and how we saw this huge spike from March 2020 onwards, and now it's kind of back to where it was and actually going and really plummeting. That's reflective of retail, and we also have, from a sort of SME point of view, real destruction. The real problem with being bullish on crypto right now isn't to do with the fact that crypto is, you know, so revolutionary and it's going to change the world, because I do believe that. It's more to do with the fact that, you know, who's going to be buying crypto in a kind of period where they have to choose between paying their mortgage or, you know, keeping the heating on and buying Bitcoin? I think it's a no-brainer, and I think that that's the environment that we're going to be going into in winter. I think we're already starting to be, you know, get into it. We're in the opposite of March 2020 onwards, and this is what people really need to come to terms with and get to grips with, and that has a negative effect on markets. Just to bring this up again, you guys are sick of me bringing up the M1 money supply, I'm sure. There's a huge correlation here. You know, you get this kind of skyrocketing in money supply to an absurd degree. You know, it's why all asset classes rocketed. Then you get this kind of teetering off of the money supply, and you put in marginally higher highs, just super correlated. And then you get this kind of downward trajectory. And you can see that it's echoed within the cryptocurrency market, the stock market, and everything else. So I do think potentially you are going to have a good day for the crypto market today. I think this has got to be respected. Let's get straight into the bullish case, and then we'll get into a bit of news. So something bullish that you may want to look for in regards to the crypto space, and we'll put it on the weekly. You have had some higher highs on your RSI and your demand index, and a number of other indexes that I actually look at. But maybe potentially, and I think this is going to actually propel the rally that we may get here. Now, when I say rally, I don't think it's going to be really one of much significance. I think maybe you get to 21k for Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum gets back to 1700, something like that. Maybe this is some sort of a double bottom, or a kind of, double bottom or a double bottom, whatever you want to call it. This still has a lot to do. So yeah, you've seen a bid here, very natural. If we drop down to the daily, you can see this area typically does get a bid. You're going to get traders behind. This is a very, very, very trader-driven market, and the majority of them are getting wrecked at the moment. But what you'd really need to see to confirm this off this sort of 20k level, which does need respecting, is you need to see It's very significant psychological level as well, and psychological kind of big, nice, round numbers actually do play out more often than not in the charts. You need to see strength really come in here, and you need to get back up to here. I tell you what, draw this properly. If you're going to do something, do it right. You need to really see some sort of a move back up here. Maybe you have a bit of a pause. And then you maybe get that continuation. And then potentially dropping it down to the daily. We could probably do the 3-day. You know, maybe you look at something like this. This would be the bullish case, by the way, for Bitcoin. And I don't think this has a very high probability of playing out. If you want it to be bullish, you know, you kind of look for this. Yeah, and then that's maybe your head and shoulders. This is your complex head. And then you see that continuation to the upside. I just don't think that the macro environment that we're in supports that one bit. And I think the higher probability scenario that we have is that 21K or 20K where we are, you know, we get a bid and then it eventually unfolds. So I just deleted my lower, because we had this as a broadening structure. You did roll out of it. You've now found support on where you would naturally expect to find support. The issue that you've got, maybe you come up and have a retest off this, potentially. I'm not ruling that out at all. We have a number of very small longs on. We got out of shorts this morning. But I think more than likely the scenario that you're going to play out here is, you know, you're going to do something like this. We've seen people position, you know, September's coming. I think you do something where you kind of bleed out and you form potentially something like this where maybe you have a sort of a head and shoulders potentially forming. Something like that I could see playing out. And then that would give you targets. The highest probability for me that I reckon is going to come for Bitcoin is you're going to take out 17K and you're going to head towards 15K. And then we'll deal with the price action when we're down there. We're not going to... I have no idea exactly where Bitcoin's going to go. I have no idea where the total market cap of the cryptocurrency market is going to go. But we'll deal with it as we're moving forwards. I have guesses where I think it could get to. I think 15K is something we're going to revisit. I could be absolutely wrong, and the market will show us that. You know, we gave you the bullish scenario that maybe this is a double bottom. I just don't think that that's the case, and I don't think the macro environment really support that. This is from the Bank of Korea, warns of more market volatility ahead as Fed signals more rate hikes. There is a high chance of increased volatility whenever the US Federal Reserve make policy, rate decisions, and global finance and foreign exchange markets has to digest it. The Forex market is basically just completely manipulated. It's almost not even supply and demand with the Forex market. It's more, you know, policy and monetary policy. But I think this is a lot more probable, to be quite honest. I think you're potentially looking at some sort of a complex head and shoulders with two peaks on the shoulder, and then you get that further downside. That's what we're going to be looking at to short. I messed a lot of shorts up. We great on the ideas, but the execution we didn't quite master, and we got out a number of shorts like Rune. We were shorting from up here. People go, oh no, we don't believe you. I can post all the trades if anyone is in denial. But I am an active trader of this market, and ultimately I do think that there's a good potential for Bitcoin to catch a bid. Dollar's looking slightly weak. I do think the dollar will reassert eventually. We've got, we don't want to look at that. What have we got? We don't look at the Fed fund rate. We don't look at the euro dollars. Euro dollars is seeing a bit of a break, but is this grinding for that further downside potentially? You've got the Asian market that's not done. The Nifty 50 is doing okay, seeing a bit of a bid. You've got the futures market, which is actually doing quite well to start things off, but the real test will be when the futures market opens. I think it could see a bit of a rip round. I think with the S&P, you're potentially looking at maybe coming up and revisiting your sort of 4,150 range, maybe potentially. I wouldn't bet on that though. We're not really looking for longs for anything other than a day trading perspective, just because the broader trend is very much down. But you know, I do think today you may get a bit of a bid. We've seen some pretty harsh sell pressure, certainly on the Jackson Hole news, and that of course is, you know, echoing, or we've kind of seen the fallout of that. Now people will look to bid it up, and certainly around this 20K range. So I do expect some sort of a pushback here. Potentially see Ethereum looking to maybe make its way back up here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ethereum come back up here in the slightest. And then you get that continuation to the downside. You know, things don't just go down in a straight line, and maybe you number of things that can play out. You know, it's very hard. It's kind of not the most easy pickings at the moment. But at the same time, it's quite predictable in the sense that more downside is coming, and that's really just led from the macro. So we've given you the bullish outlook. Maybe this forms a double bottom. That certainly would be valid, but then it's what you do. You know, it needs to form that double bottom before you start calling it. I also think people are going to front run that and try and predict that that may be the outcome. So you really need to start getting back above her. Make this solid. You know, you need to do something like this where you rock it up here, maybe you have a pullback, and then you see that continuation, then you can maybe set up for a reverse head and shoulders, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot to do before we get there. And this is the start of that. You need to see that strength kick in, and it's natural to see the kind of strength that we've seen take place. Yesterday, you know, this is strength. And that's kind of set the pace. And now you're sort of in a smaller trend forming structure that's probably going to see a little bit of a push further. Maybe you come back into these levels. I just don't think, or maybe you test this trend line that we broke down from. I just don't think that it's going to reassert. The bull market isn't back on by any means stretch of the imagination, ladies and gentlemen. It could be, but you've got to see what we've set out for you. And that's just one possibility of how it may reassert, but that's really, you know, things to look out for. So we've covered the Bank of Korea. This is JP or BTC price top warning emerge as 10,000 Bitcoin leave wallet after 9 years. So this is interesting. I think, you know, that has a lot to do with the fact that people will be going, okay, maybe, you know, things are bad, you know, and just reiterating the kind of point that I've made on numerous occasions. You know, Bitcoin, since its existence, markets, you know, Bitcoin was born over here, guys. Markets have only just gone up. We're in a completely different environment to that now, and this is what people need to get on board with and come to terms with. You know, how is Bitcoin and crypto going to fare in an environment that is recessionary? I think it's not going to do too well given its correlation with the equity market. I don't think it's going to be that flight to safety. I think it already would have been if that was the case. You know, it's very, and I think over the past sort of maybe year, this has really been drilled home to me. I think that, you know, that there's a disconnect between the underlying asset that the market is trying to represent and the actual maybe fair value, or it's really complex. You know, markets often don't really represent, but at the same time do, the asset that they're trying to. They really represent the future value of that asset, and there's a disconnect there that you have to be aware of. And it's where I got caught out, actually, because I'm still to this day all in crypto. I'm so bullish on the crypto space and where it's going. I really do think it's a tech revolution. The issue is, though, is that markets don't necessarily, they do care about it to a degree, but fundamentals don't necessarily move markets. People move markets, price moves markets, you know, money moves markets, not a belief in something. And this is what we kind of have to pay attention to. And that's why we have a somewhat bleak outlook, even though we've given you the bullish possibility. We still think that you've got further downside to go here, and we've given you the alternative. If you can kind of come back up here, maybe form some sort of W bottom and then get that continuation, then okay, you can start really looking at things. But for now, we keep on with the broader trend, which is a downtrend, and we don't see reason to change, even though Bitcoin could catch a bit of a bid today, until we see that reason to change. All I've got for you in this video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, like as always, appreciate it. So as a comment, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.